Hey everybody, this is Eric Johnson. I'm here with Tober. He's beneath my legs. Oh, he just turned over. He's having a good day. Finally got a day of, looks like it's going to be a dry day. I was going to do my treasure chest sim and had one day that possibly I could have done it. The ground was still wet, but the ground was wet from all the rain. And then of course that day I went out and I was doing stuff, and I remember looking up going, what a great day to do the treasure chest. I'll just do it tomorrow. And of course next day it started raining again. It's been a very rainy time here. So it's first day here that it's finally stopped raining, but of course the ground's very wet. I think tomorrow or no, not tomorrow. I'll be busy tomorrow. The next day, I think I'll go out and try to do a treasure chest sim, or sometime this week, assuming it's... Hey, buddy. How are you? Okay, so I want to talk about something that really it just keeps seeping into my soul. It's been seeping into my consciousness of this hunt for quite a while. And it's talked about, and Fenn has talked about it, and he's alluded to it, and it's in blogs and vlogs, and it's even in the poem. And that is water. Water, wet, moisture. Of course, in the poem we have the jumping off point. Fenn has said the place to start looking is begin at where warm waters halt. Water. My last video I alluded to the fact that perhaps the entire journey for this thing is being in water, cold water specifically, and that you start out beginning at where warm waters halt, which is putting you into cold water, and you effectively follow the plot points on the map all the way until you get to the end, and then it says the effort will be worth the cold at the very end, again alluding to the fact that the whole time you've been in water, or yeah, water. Now, of course, Fenn himself has said, what has Fenn said? Fenn is plotting out something that, of course, he doesn't have to do the entire thing to plant the treasure. He's trying to set up plot points for us to follow to find the treasure. So Fenn has said himself to someone, do you really think an 80-year-old man went down a canyon? I'm the dumb enough to have been out in places like Vermilion Creek and stuff where, you know, I realized it was way too rough and everything for Fenn to have been doing. Probably too rough for me to be doing. But you know, I didn't end up finding it anyway. But the point I'm trying to make is, you know, I keep in mind that when I'm doing the poem and I'm trying to follow the clues, the entire thing is not something Fenn has to have literally gone out and done to plant the treasure. He just went and planted it at the end point. But for him to create a scenario that you're following, it could very well be a scenario that involves going down a river, for instance. So I went to the... Tober, come on, man. Tober's now looking like he wants to bite my hand. He bites playfully. When I first got him from the rescue, he didn't know his own strength, and sometimes he would like, Arr! And now he's learned. Have you learned? He's looking below me going, I think maybe he hasn't learned. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to read clips of Fenn addressing the fact of water. Like I said, we all know begin at where warm waters halt. Some people even say that's not even about water. I mean, you can just take all of these clues and stuff to the point where... What? Oh, you want my glasses? He's trying to get my glasses. Pretty funny. Alright, so I'm going to read things that I got off the blogs and the vlogs with Fenn addressing the issue of water and wet and moisture, and we'll just see how it goes. I will tell you that when I get to the end of this presentation, let me verify this before I get there. he says something that really surprises me. Yeah. Yeah, it's Forrest Fenn addressing an issue. And a long-winded answer, and he addressed it. Wow, it's amazing. You'll see. We'll get there when we get there. I'm starting out with the simplest things he has said addressing us. This was from 5/8/2015, May of 2015. The famous quote, "If I were standing where the treasure chest is, I'd see trees, I'd see mountains, I'd see animals. I'd smell the wonderful smells of pine needles or pinyon nuts, sagebrush, and I know the treasure chest is wet." Well, you've asked me a lot of questions. Most of them I've answered. A few of them I haven't, but I gotta tell you, there's one thing I told you that I wish I had not. Fenn has since this particular interview said, the thing that he said that he wished he had not said was, "I'd smell the wonderful smells of pinyon nuts." He has actually said that. There goes Tober. See you later, buddy. And I think the reason is because it may not have to do with the fact that he was wrong and he misspoke, although that could be one reason. He just realized, oh, there were no pinyon nuts in that area. I wish I'd never said that. The other thing could be that he realized, because after he made that comment, everybody started going online and finding out where pinyon nuts were on the 4 states. And it turns out they're in very few places, like they're in New Mexico big time, and they're in Colorado just barely, and they're not in Wyoming or Montana. So that may be the reason he said it wasn't, he wished he hadn't said that. But he says, "I know the treasure chest is wet." Now, other people have said, when he says, "and I know the treasure chest is wet," it's almost like he restricts the concept, right? It's like he says, "I know," almost like capturing that in time, as if maybe the time of year he's answering this May would be spring. He gave this interview in May 8th of 2015. That's when you get high waters. That's when you get the spring runoff. You get the snow melt, and you have these rivers in virtually any of these states. When they get the snow runoff from the mountains, sometimes, well, rivers do rise. And if it's near a river, then of course it could be underwater or partially submerged. So that was one quote from May 8th. Then we have another quote from August 28, 2015. Mr. Fenn. Oh, and by the way, I don't source these things. Everything I'm talking about today you can find on Terry Scant. I know a lot, I think. Well, I'm not sure everything came from Terry Scant, because sometimes I just go through and I read things on the net and I just capture them, but a lot of them are from Terry Scant. Terry Scant, Tarryscant. For those of you that are new to the chase, you just go in and put in Terry Scant. You'll find it. It's a place where you can put in words and it'll tie them to different things having to do with the chase. I don't know how updated it is. If anyone out there knows, please let me know how updated it is. I don't think I see real recent articles in Terry Scant, but maybe, again, I'm not looking for things that bring up recent articles. I know some people have a problem with Terry Scant. The latest I heard was they are keeping track on Terry Scant. They're keeping track of what searchers put in for words and tying it to their IP address. What? Who cares? I mean, folks, think about what that means. It sounds all scary, and then I go, okay, they have my IP address. Eric Johnson's located in South Carolina. He looked up river, wet, moisture, chest. I mean, and this is against everyone else with their searches on Terry Scant. What in the world do you gain by knowing my IP address? I mean, I personally come on and do vlogs about what I'm doing. Maybe I'm not pinning it down my search to a particular spot, but come on, that doesn't make sense. You know, it's like all the people that are upset about friggin' Facebook and stuff, and I'm sure I'll get some comments about people, and if you can correct me and make a reasonable argument, I'll take your argument. I was talking to someone the other day, and they said, I'm really upset with this privacy issue on Facebook. I think it was Facebook. And I said, why? Well, I don't like the idea that people know everything about me. I said, they don't know everything about you. You go on Facebook, maybe you put in where you live. If you want to, you put in your phone number. They don't have your social security number. They don't have your passwords to anything. You know what they have? They have your likes and your dislikes. They like things they like to do, but primarily, but supposedly they know, I mean, of course they keep track of your advertising likes and not likes. So what if when I'm on Facebook or I'm on some other media channel, it keeps popping up that I like to, you know, different kinds of Turkish pistachios, because I tend to love Turkish pistachios, the ones that come from Turkey. Ooh, I got a different brand of Turkish pistachios that popped up and want me to buy their bag. God, come on, people. They don't learn a damn thing about you. I mean, that's worth anything to me. And by the way, if you really want to get scared, you know, your sacred social security, Facebook and places like that don't have it, but other people do. And whether it's been secure or through medical and all that, things you've used your Social Security for, if it's been secured in the past and not gotten out, how would you ever even know? Sorry I got off track, but, you know, it's like I read that about Terry Scant one day, and someone said, yeah, you know, they're keeping track of people's IP addresses and what words they do word search on. I just don't understand why that matters. Okay. Getting back to what he says, I know the treasure chest is wet. Could be that it was because it was that particular time of year, the spring, it was wet because the waters had risen in the river because of snow runoff. Who knows? It's not like he just said, oh, and the treasure chest is wet. Someone says in August, Mr. Fenn, in relation to the final resting place of the chest, which of the four natural elements, earth, wind, water, fire, would mostly compromise it resting? I know what the question is, Fenn says. I don't think earth can hurt it. Under the right conditions, wind might affect it. It's probably already wet. And look at what fire did to the Twin Towers. Nature makes her own rules, James, so I try not to be absolute when talking about her. It's probably already wet. He once addressed that, or the general concept of the treasure chest being wet, by saying it doesn't, you know, he always has to go back and correct people's misperceptions or clarify what he said. And he said, you know, when I say the treasure chest is wet, it doesn't have to be underwater. It could just be moist because it's covered with stuff. And that stuff, I mean, let's imagine the treasure chest now, easily after 9-10 years, could be just, I mean, unfortunately, it could be completely covered with leaves and twigs and stuff, to the point where he didn't bury it, but Mother Nature, as he would say, has buried it. And all those leaves and sticks and stuff that may have blown over it and all that, and maybe that's what he meant when he said might affect it. Maybe he was talking about the concept that detritus, as he said once, has covered it because of wind. He said once, well, that would cause it to be moist. It would be moist because it's got damp stuff around it. It stays damp, so the treasure chest is moist.